Now, Donald Trump and the Republicans believe that voter fraud is rampant. It's rampant. It's everywhere. The Democrats, of course, are using voter fraud to rig the election against Donald Trump, and they've got proof, right? Voter fraud. I mean, look, you listen to Donald Trump. He's talking about rigging election. He's talking about voter fraud. It's everywhere. Crooked Hillary, she's rigging the election against me by getting more people to vote for her, right? To get people to vote twice or multiple times or whatever. Sounds absurd, right? Well, if you're a rational person, maybe. Now, it just so happens, though, that Trump may be partly right because somebody was just caught voting twice. Now, this is according to the Des Moines Register. Now, a 55-year-old Terri Lynn Rote of Iowa was recently arrested on a first-degree election misconduct charge. Why? She ended up voting twice. Well, there you go. I mean, she must have been voting for Crooked Hillary, right? In fact, I've got a picture of her out there campaigning for her candidate. You want to see it? Here it is. Wait a minute. That isn't for Crooked Hillary. That's for Donald Trump. What the hell, man? So apparently, she is a Trump supporter. Now, according to Salon and the police report, Rote, a registered Republican, reportedly cast an early voting ballot at the Polk County election office, and another ballot at a county satellite voting location in Des Moines. Now, Rote was one of the 3 voter fraud suspects reported to police Wednesday by the Polk County Auditor's Office. Now, when asked why she attempted to vote twice in the election, because sometimes people can vote once and forget about it and then vote a second time, and oh, look, you just broke election law. You just performed a Class D felony. Whoops. But hey, look, sometimes shit happens, right? Well, so they asked her. And what did she say? She said, quote, to Iowa Public Radio, "I wasn't planning on doing it twice, but it was spur of the moment. The polls are rigged." What kind of answer is that? The polls are rigged. That's why I have to do voter fraud and vote twice. Because voter fraud is rampant and it's bad. Wait a minute. Look, man, this is stupid. But this is obviously your diehard Trump supporter right there. And trust me, she is incredibly diehard. And she also had some really bad things to say about black people, Black Lives Matter, Colin Kaepernick, that kind of stuff. So, Trump supporter. Now, I know she doesn't fit the mold of all Trump supporters, but this right here seems to be the average, as far as I know. Now, look, it's obvious this isn't the Democrats doing voter fraud. Now, if you're talking about tampering with an election, like, for example, cutting the amount of polling places, changing registration, shit like that, well, look, Republicans have cut polling places. Democrats have cut polling places. They've both done that, right? Look, if you're talking about election fraud or putting your, thumb on the scale for a certain candidate that rhymes with Hillary Linton, then sure, you could say the Democrats have done that. Okay, but see, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about voter fraud. Voter fraud, different than election fraud. Okay? Now, we know from experience and looking at policies that Republicans disenfranchise Democratic voters. They do. They look at people that are voting for example, that voted for Barack Obama, and they're like, we don't want them people to vote. A lot of them people are black people and college students. We don't want them to vote. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that's what they do. Yep. And they don't want them to vote, obviously, because they know that when liberals come out in force to vote, they lose because they're a minority in this country. Okay. Now, Democrats, well, the Democratic establishment is a little bit different, right? The Democratic establishment actually, during primaries, they, first of all, say, don't primary anybody. Don't primary anybody. It's bad for the party. It's bad for the party. No, it's actually pretty good for the party because then you get the most progressive candidate. that aligns with people on a majority of the issues because we live in a more progressive country. And then, well, the Democrats, as well as, dissuading people from primarying other politicians from the left, they also use dirty, arcane tricks and rules to disenfranchise progressives like they did in New York. So look, that's fair. If you're talking about disenfranchisement, if you're talking about the weird shit that went on, hey, that's a perfectly valid conversation. If you're talking about voter fraud, that's a completely different animal, right? That is different than stealing an election. I'm just saying. Now, here's the thing, right? Back to the story. Now, Polk County Auditor Jamie Fitzgerald, observed the Des Moines Register on Thursday that this was the first time in 12 years that someone had tried to vote twice on Election Day. It was the third case of fraud overall, but on the previous two occasions, individuals who had previously voted through mail-in ballot also tried to vote on Election Day itself. So, there's your in-person voter fraud. So, and look, that's what voter ID is trying to stop. It's also incredibly rare, and the Republicans, which push this, claim that it's there to stop the Democrats. It seems like those laws just happen to stop more Republicans than Democrats, because Republicans are the only ones stupid enough to do it. But anyway, he said, look, tensions are running high on both sides as Election Day approaches, but the cases of double voting could also have been simple mistakes. That's not for me to decide. No. That is for you to decide. You're the auditor. Here she is, admitting to Iowa Public Radio that, yeah, I voted twice on purpose. I mean, I originally wasn't going to do it, but then, I thought, hey, the polls are rigged. I'll vote twice. Look, that's her. That's what she said. This is open and shut voter fraud. I don't know about the other two cases, but this one's crystal clear, man. Oh, but no. Not up to me to decide. I'm just a county auditor. Look, I hate to bring this up, right? Because this is, I know, race baiting, blah, blah, blah. No. What if this were a black Democrat being caught voting twice in Iowa? You think the auditor would be like, that could be a mistake. Not for me to decide. Could be. Look, I bring this up because, look, what we've seen in Indiana with police rating organizations, for example, that were registering black Democrats, as well as what happened with Acorn and these different groups that were signing up, that were just registering African Americans, and all the different voter ID laws and the attempts at bringing back the poll tax to disenfranchise African Americans. It's pretty safe to say that we might have a different outlook on this. I'm just saying. Right. Look, we'll see. We'll see later if she ends up getting jail time for this. Because believe it or not, this is a felony. This is a Class D felony. Which means she faces 5 to 7 years for voting improperly. So, we'll also see as well if all these Trump supporters end up turning their backs on her for breaking the law. Remember, Donald Trump's the law and order candidate, right? Republicans, they're all about voter, stopping voter fraud. They're all about trying to prevent that and, integrity in our electoral system, man. That's what they're all about. I wonder if they'll turn their backs on this woman for doing what they rail so hard against. Part of me says, not likely. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.